Welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest today is Marion Endicott from Injured Workers Consultants Community Legal Clinic based in Toronto. And Marion, you were just telling us a little bit about your kind of early experience kind of working with researchers, getting to know some of the work they're doing really to bring evidence to facts and figures to your meetings with the decision makers, the Minister of Labor, who's responsible for workers' compensation in the government, and the senior officials at the Compensation Board, the WSIB. So how did that progress? So you talked about that's kind of the late 90s, and then into the years, the 2000s, I know you were involved in quite a large research kind of project. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, and you were very involved in that project too, so
I
you
was.
can fill in the...
I know Marion and I did so many things working together from Thunder Bay to Toronto that,
That's right.
that we do have a lot of shared experiences.
Yeah. So through this realization that we needed research, one of our observations was, despite having found that research that I spoke of by Joan Eakin and some other pieces, in general, there was very, very little research, as far as we could tell, that was actually about injured workers and their experience with the workers' compensation system, or about the workers' compensation system itself and how it served injured workers, or employers for that matter. And so there was kind of a gap there in terms of research, and we needed that research. So we began an initiative which kind of has a long story, but in an attempt to make it a short story, we went through a series of meetings where we eventually kind of found some academics who were interested in meeting with injured workers and people like us, and to talk about stuff. And we got injured workers in the room, and we got people like me, advocates, in the room, and began to talk about the need for research, and is there some kind of collaboration that could happen. And the academics were aware of a big pot of money that could be available through the Research Council in Ottawa, and SHRC it's called for short, and said, you should apply for that. And so we did, and we got $1 million. Woohoo! And that was to last us for 4 or 5 years, and we were expected to get other funds to come in. So then we went through just an absolutely wonderful process of bringing the academic world and the injured worker world together to learn from each other. And we had to have kind of translation sessions because they spoke different language. We talked about spending days walking in each other's shoes so we'd understand each other's world more.
The injured worker world and the academic university professor world.
That's right, exactly, yeah.
They are a bit different, aren't they?
Very different, very different. And it was so fascinating because, quite honestly, at the beginning of the process, there was a lot of distrust. The academics thought, well, we study injured workers, but do we really engage with them? And injured workers were academics. What do they know about me? Why should I talk to them? They'll never understand me. So anyway, we went through this process and ultimately developed a really, really wonderful working relationship, got some fabulous research that came out about the actual experience of injured worker, a lot of it showing the unfortunate level of poverty that occurs as a result of injury, and mental health issues as a result of dealings with the board and poverty issues. And a lot of engagement by the injured workers with the academics, helping to present this research, helping to give feedback to the researchers about what they found. And also through this project, there was funding to enhance the capacity of the injured workers themselves to engage in the process, to help them speak up, so to speak. And there were various aspects of it, but one very important one was the funding of a project called the Injured Workers Speaker School, which you have here in Thunder Bay.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, we had our graduation ceremony last night.
Oh,
that took place at City Hall. We had the mayor and 4 councillors, and
wow.
Very nice event.
Fantastic. Congrats. So, yeah, so we had one in Toronto, and they became so popular that they, gone around the province to a fair degree. And these speaker schools, there's different formulations. Yours here in Thunder Bay is different than the one we have in Toronto. But essentially, the feature is to study history, to study social issues, to study, do analysis on the one hand of our society, or in our case of the workers' compensation system. And on the other hand, to slowly but surely get injured workers to be making a speech that tells their story and interrelates their story with fundamental vision of a good workers' compensation system, or the fundamental principles of it, or something that we've studied in the class. And often these are people who have never spoken publicly before. And by the end of this program, which is, in our case, once a week for 3 or 4 hours a week for 14 weeks, at the end there is this graduation, like what you've just spoken of, where everybody gives a speech. The graduates give a speech. There's a panel who respond to it, and the injured workers really come out of that as leaders. So that was an element of this whole research initiative. That was also very important.
And so how can people find out more about that research initiative? There must be some websites out there for that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you almost stumped me there. So, well, I guess sort of a portal to websites in general around workers' compensation issues from an injured worker perspective particularly is the one that is www.injuredworkersonline.org. And if you go to that website, you will also get to another one for the research project I was just talking about, which is called RACWE for short. Research Action Alliance on the Consequences of Work Injury. There we go. That's it. RACWE, you'll also get to another website about a wonderful conference that we had about Justice Meredith, who was the founder of the workers' compensation system here in Ontario. And if we have time, maybe we could touch on him a little bit and those principles, and as well as the all the issues that are going on right now, and papers and access to our library catalog at the clinic with a lot of resources there, etc.
All right, so that website will really take you to a number of other sites, give you all kinds of background information on injured workers, workers' compensation, and the research, the collaborations that you've been working on over the last, sounds like 10 or 15 years.
That's right, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, we need to take another short break. Please stay with us, and we'll be right back.